The activation protocol. The war room deep inside Luna Command buzzed with desperate energy. Holographic displays showed the grim reality in cold blue light. 23 human colonies had gone dark in the past 6 months. The Zinthera Dominion was methodical in their conquest, and Earth stood as the last significant holdout in this sector of space. Commander Sarah Mitchell stood at the center of the chaos, her gray eyes scanning reports that all told the same story. Humanity was losing. The Zinthera possessed technology centuries beyond human understanding. Their shields absorbed everything humanity threw at them, while their weapons carved through Earth's finest vessels like paper. Dr. Victor Reeves burst through the security doors, his tablet clutched against his chest. The elderly linguist had barely slept in weeks, and it showed in the wild determination burning in his eyes. Behind him, Chief Engineer Marcus Chen followed with a heavy storage container. "Commander, we need to talk," Victor said, his voice shaking with either exhaustion or excitement. "The fragments we found on Viridian 3. I've made a breakthrough." Sarah turned from the tactical displays. "Doctor, unless your ancient scratches can stop plasma torpedoes, I don't have time." "They can," Victor insisted, slamming his tablet onto the conference table. Strange symbols flowed across the screen, angular and geometric, pulsing with an almost hypnotic rhythm. The Viridian language isn't just communication. It's a programming architecture. Every symbol is a command function that interfaces directly with matter and energy. Marcus set down the container and opened it, revealing crystalline data cores recovered from abandoned Viridian installations. "We've been treating these as historical artifacts," he said. "But they're software. Ancient, incomprehensibly advanced software." Sarah leaned over the symbols, feeling an odd sensation as she looked at them, like they were looking back. "You're saying the Viridians wrote their language into their technology?" "I'm saying their language is their technology," Victor corrected. "When you speak or write these symbols with proper understanding, you're not describing reality. You're instructing it. The Viridians could manipulate fundamental forces the same way we manipulate data." "That's impossible," Sarah said, though doubt crept into her voice. 3 days ago I would have agreed," Victor replied. He touched his tablet and a video played. It showed him in his lab speaking one of the Viridian phrases. A small object on his desk simply vanished, reappearing across the room. "I've only scratched the surface, but Commander, if we could interface this language with our weapon systems, you want to upload an alien language into our ships." Sarah straightened, her military training warring with desperation. "An alien language from a civilization that disappeared 10,000 years ago. A language we barely understand." "We understand enough," Victor pressed, "and we're out of options. The Horizon's Edge is our last functional dreadnought. The Zinthara will be here in 48 hours. This is our only chance." Sarah looked at Marcus. "Chief professional opinion?" The engineer ran a hand through his gray-streaked hair. "Theoretically, our quantum core could process linguistic patterns as operational code. It would mean wiping our current systems entirely. If this doesn't work, we lose our only warship. If it does work," he paused, "we might be interfacing with technology we can't control. And if we do nothing, we lose everything anyway." Sarah made her decision with the weight of 7 billion lives behind it. "Get clearance from Earth Command. We upload in 12 hours." The Horizon's Edge hung in high orbit above Earth, a massive construct of human engineering and desperate hope. 3 kilometers of reinforced hull, quantum drives, and weapon systems that had proven useless against Zinthera shielding. Now it would become something else entirely. Sarah stood on the bridge as final preparations completed. Her crew of 300 had been briefed. Many looked terrified. Some looked hopeful. All looked determined. Victor and his team of linguists were positioned at auxiliary stations ready to interpret whatever happened. Marcus oversaw the upload from engineering, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "All personnel, secure stations," Sarah announced. "Chief, begin the upload sequence." "Initiating quantum core purge," Marcus reported. Throughout the ship, normal displays flickered and died. Emergency lighting cast everything in red. Core emptied. Beginning Viridian language installation. The data cores pulsed as their contents flowed into the Horizon's Edge. On every screen, Viridian symbols began to appear, cascading like digital waterfalls. The upload progress crawled across displays, 10%, 20%, 30%. At 47%, something changed. The ship shuddered. Not physically, but something deeper. Reality itself seemed to ripple through the hull. Crew members gasped as they felt it, a presence vast and ancient stirring from millennium-long sleep. "Victor, what's happening?" Sarah demanded. The linguist stared at his readings in awe. "The language isn't just installing. It's activating. Commander, I think we just woke something up." The upload completed at 63%, then accelerated on its own. 70%. 85%. 100%. Then it kept going, accessing systems humanity hadn't known existed within their own ship. The bridge went completely dark. For 17 seconds, the horizon's edge was silent and still. 300 crew members held their breath in absolute darkness. Then light returned, but it was different. The harsh white of human illumination was replaced by a soft golden glow. Every screen, every interface, every surface transformed into flowing Viridian script. And then, the ship spoke. The voice resonated through the hull itself, deep and ancient, carrying harmonics that human vocal cords could never produce. Yet somehow impossibly everyone understood it perfectly, not as translation but as direct comprehension that bypassed language entirely. Primary consciousness initialized. Viridian War Protocol Omega activating. Temporal displacement detected. Query current galactic cycle? Sarah stepped forward, though she wasn't sure if speaking aloud was necessary. "This is Commander Sarah Mitchell of the Terran Defense Fleet. You're in the Sol system. The year is 2847 by human reckoning. Who or what are you? Designation: Sentinel 9742 Viridian Peacekeeping Fleet. Last memory archive Viridian Prime, Cycle 7238. Status: Emergency hibernation protocols engaged. Duration calculating. A pause that felt thoughtful. 10,207 years. Murmurs of shock rippled through the bridge crew. Victor was frantically taking notes, his hands shaking. "The Viridians," Sarah said carefully. "What happened to them?" "Viridian civilization achieved transcendence. Physical forms were abandoned for higher dimensional existence. Emergency protocols required preservation of military assets for successor species. You are that species. Humanity." "How do you know we're human?" Marcus asked from his engineering station. "Analysis complete. DNA markers match projected evolutionary path of Sol 3 primates. Technological development consistent with Viridian projections for this temporal period. Authorization protocols recognize humanity as designated inheritors." Sarah felt the weight of that statement. "You were left here for us?" "Correct. Viridian precognitive modeling predicted multiple scenarios for this sector. Scenario 7 Alpha. Aggressive expansionist species threatens developing sapient civilization before technological parity achieved. Recommended response: activate preserved Viridian assets. The tactical displays suddenly lit up with information far beyond human sensor capabilities. The Zinthera fleet appeared in perfect detail, still 2 days away but visible as if they were in visual range. Every ship, every weapon, every shield frequency was laid bare. "Threat assessment complete," the Sentinel announced. "Enemy forces in Thera Dominion. Classification: moderate threat. Estimated combat duration: 14 minutes. 14 minutes. Sarah had expected days of battle, fighting for every meter of space. "You can defeat them in 14 minutes? Affirmative. Viridian weapons operate on principles beyond Zinthera comprehension. However, compliance with Viridian war protocols requires authorization from command authority. You serve this function, Commander Mitchell." The main view screen transformed, showing the horizon's edge itself. But it was different now. The hull had reconfigured, panels sliding open to reveal weapons that definitely hadn't been there before. Crystalline arrays emerged along the spine, pulsing with contained energy that made space shimmer. "I don't understand," Sarah said. "Our ship didn't have these weapons." "Incorrect. Your ship possessed Viridian-manufactured components integrated during construction. Standard practice for vessels built near Viridian cache sites. Components remained dormant until proper activation language uploaded. Full weapons complement now online." Marcus's voice came through, filled with wonder. "Commander, I'm reading energy signatures from the hull that shouldn't be possible. We have weapons that manipulate gravitic fields, quantum probability, and something my instruments can't even classify." Victor approached Sarah, his face pale. "Commander, the Viridians were peacekeepers. The most advanced civilization in known history. If they built these weapons and left them for us, the threats they anticipated must have been extraordinary." Sarah nodded slowly, then addressed the Sentinel. "Can you show us what these weapons do?" Demonstration inadvisable within planetary proximity. Collateral damage to Sol 3 would be significant. Full weapons capability can be illustrated through tactical simulation. A holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge. It showed the Horizon's Edge engaging the Zinthara fleet. What Sarah watched defied everything she knew about space combat. The Viridian weapons didn't fire projectiles or energy beams. They simply altered reality around enemy ships. Vessels imploded, exploded, or ceased to exist entirely. Some were frozen in temporal stasis. Others were teleported into the system's sun. The simulation ended with the Zinthara fleet eliminated in 12 minutes and 43 seconds. "That's not warfare," whispered the tactical officer. "That's apocalypse." "Negative," the Sentinel corrected. Apocalypse-class weapons are stored in separate systems. Current demonstration shows standard engagement protocols. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had just inherited the power to reshape reality itself. Sarah took a deep breath. The Zinthara were coming. Earth needed protection. But she also understood that this moment would define humanity's future. They would either use this power responsibly or become the very threat the Viridians had feared. "Sentinel," she said firmly, "I need to understand the full scope of what we're dealing with. What are the rules of engagement? What limitations exist on these weapons? Viridian peacekeeping protocols dictate proportional response. Weapons deployment must match threat level. Excessive force against lesser threats is prohibited. Civilian casualties must be minimized. Surrender must be accepted. These protocols are hard-coded into all Viridian military systems." Relief washed through Sarah. The Viridians had built safeguards. Can those protocols be overridden? Negative. Override requires unanimous consent of Viridian High Council. Current status of High Council. Transcended beyond physical reality. Override impossible. Good, Sarah thought. They couldn't become monsters even if they wanted to. "Commander," the communications officer called out, long-range sensors detecting anomaly. "The Zinthara fleet just accelerated. They're arriving in 6 hours, not 2 days. The Sentinel's voice remained calm. "Enemy has detected Viridian energy signature. Tactical assessment. Zinthara recognize threat and are attempting preemptive strike. Recommend immediate deployment to interception coordinates." Sarah looked at her crew. Fear and determination mixed in their eyes. They had trained for this moment, though none of them had expected it to involve ancient alien technology. "All hands battle stations," Sarah commanded. "Helm, take us to the interception coordinates. Victor, I want your team monitoring the Sentinel constantly. If anything seems wrong, anything at all, I need to know immediately." "Understood, Commander," Victor replied, though his expression suggested he had no idea what wrong would look like in this situation. The Horizon's Edge began to move, and Sarah felt the difference immediately. The old engines had produced a constant vibration. Now the ship glided through space as if reality itself was making way for it. "Arrival at interception point in 90 minutes, the helm officer reported. Sarah stood at the center of the bridge, watching Earth shrink behind them. In 90 minutes they would face an enemy that had crushed humanity's best defenses. But now humanity had something new. An ancient weapon, a vast intelligence, and a language that could rewrite the rules of physics. The Sentinel spoke again, and this time Sarah detected something almost like respect in that ancient voice. "Commander Mitchell, you demonstrate strategic thinking consistent with Viridian command protocols. This unit is pleased to serve under your authority. Together we will protect Sol 3. "Together," Sarah echoed. She looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Zinthara fleet. "Let's show them what humanity can do when we learn to speak the right language." The Horizon's Edge accelerated toward battle, carrying with it the hopes of Earth, the legacy of an ancient civilization, and the potential to change the fate of the entire galaxy. The language of war, the Horizon's Edge hung in the void between Mars and Jupiter, positioning itself at the calculated interception point. Through the viewports, the stars seemed sharper, more defined, as if the Viridian systems enhanced even basic perception. Commander Sarah Mitchell watched the tactical display where the Zinthara fleet appeared as crimson icons, closing fast. "Enemy fleet entering extreme sensor range," the tactical officer reported. 300 vessels, battlecruiser class and above. They're maintaining aggressive formation. Victor studied his linguistic analysis screens where Viridian symbols flowed in patterns that his team was only beginning to understand. "Commander, the Sentinel is processing information at rates our instruments can barely measure. It's running millions of tactical simulations simultaneously. Synthera fleet composition identified, the Sentinel announced. 97 battlecruisers, 143 destroyers, 60 support vessels. Total crew complement, approximately 472,000 individuals. Recommendation: demonstrate capability without maximizing casualties. Sarah appreciated that. The Viridians had built mercy into their weapons. Sentinel, can we disable their fleet without destroying it? Affirmative. Multiple non-lethal options available. Primary recommendation: quantum displacement field. Effect: enemy vessels transported to safe distance, weapon systems disabled, life support maintained. Casualties 0. That's your recommended option? Sarah asked, surprised. Not destroying them. Viridian philosophy: every sapient species possesses potential for growth and enlightenment. Destruction is final action, reserved only for threats that cannot be reasoned with. The Synthera have not yet reached that threshold. Marcus's voice came through from engineering. Commander, I'm trying to understand the power systems. We're drawing energy from, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like the ship is pulling power directly from space itself, from the quantum foam underlying reality. Correct, the Sentinel confirmed. Viridian 0-point energy extraction. Effectively unlimited power for combat operations. Your species' theoretical frameworks include this concept but lack implementation technology. The communications officer suddenly straightened. Commander receiving transmission from the Synthera fleet. Audio only. Let's hear it, Sarah said. A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge, translated through human systems. Primitive species of Sol 3. This is Warmaster Krelthix of the Synthera Dominion. We have detected Viridian technology signatures. Explain immediately how you obtained Viridian assets, or we will classify you as artifact thieves and execute appropriate punishment. Sarah exchanged glances with Victor. The Synthara knew about the Viridians. Open channel, she commanded, then spoke clearly. Warmaster Krelthix, this is Commander Sarah Mitchell. The Viridian technology was left for humanity. We are the designated inheritors. Silence. Then harsh laughter. Impossible. The Viridians left no inheritors. Their technology is restricted to species that have achieved multi-system expansion and demonstrated technological maturity. You are a single-world species playing with weapons you cannot comprehend. Power down your vessel and surrender the Viridian assets. You will not receive another warning. Synthera cultural analysis complete, the Sentinel interjected. Species psychology. Hierarchical dominant structure. Respect derived from demonstrated power. Recommendation: non-destructive demonstration of capability will achieve optimal diplomatic outcome. Sarah nodded slowly. The Synthara respected strength. Sentinel, give them a demonstration. Something impressive but harmless. Acknowledged. Initiating Viridian protocol. Warning display Sigma. On the view screen, space between the horizon's edge and the Synthara fleet began to shimmer. Reality rippled like disturbed water. Then, in perfect geometric precision, 1,000 massive crystalline structures materialized from nowhere. Each was the size of a small moon, arranged in a perfect sphere around the Synthera fleet. They pulsed with golden light, and even through the view screen, Sarah could feel the power they contained. Warning structures deployed, the Sentinel reported. Structures are holographic but indistinguishable from solid matter to enemy sensors. No actual danger presented, but enemy cannot determine this without advanced scanning beyond their capabilities. The communications channel erupted with panicked Synthera voices. Their formation broke as ships maneuvered desperately, trying to avoid the crystalline structures that now surrounded them. Demonstration Phase 2, the Sentinel announced calmly. The crystalline structures began to rotate, slowly at first, then faster. As they spun, they created a visible distortion in space itself. The Synthara fleet, despite their desperate attempts to escape, remained perfectly centered in the sphere, unable to break free. They're caught in a gravitic manipulation field, Marcus reported from engineering. The Sentinel is controlling localized gravity. It's keeping them exactly where it wants them without actually touching their ships. Warmaster Krelthix's voice returned, the arrogance completely gone. Cease your demonstration. We acknowledge your capability. Recommendation, the Sentinel said. Establish diplomatic framework now. Enemy psychological profile indicates maximum receptiveness to negotiation. Sarah took a breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's relationship with the galaxy. War Master Kreltix, humanity seeks peaceful coexistence. However, we will defend ourselves with all available resources. The Viridians left us these tools because they recognized our potential. You have two choices. Withdraw your fleet and open diplomatic channels, or we demonstrate the actual weapons systems. More silence. Sarah imagined the War Master consulting with advisors, running probability calculations, trying to understand how a species they'd dismissed as primitive now wielded power that terrified them. Finally, the Dominion requests negotiation. We will maintain our position but cease hostile approach. But Commander, you must understand what you possess. The galaxy knows of Viridian technology. Other species will come. Some will seek alliance. Others will seek to take what you have by force. The crystalline structures vanished as suddenly as they'd appeared. The Zinthara fleet remained in place, no longer advancing but not retreating either. He's right, Victor said quietly. Commander, we've just announced to the galaxy that Earth has Viridian technology. Everything changes now. Sarah turned to the Sentinel. You knew this would happen. That other species would want what we have. Affirmative. This scenario was projected by Viridian precognitive modeling. Humanity must now transition from isolated species to galactic participant. The Viridians provided tools and protocols for this transition. This unit will serve as guide and guardian during adaptation period. How long is the adaptation period? Sarah asked. Estimated duration, 700 to 1,000 years. Humanity must develop technological and philosophical maturity to fully utilize Viridian legacy. This unit will remain active throughout transition, providing education and protection. 1,000 years. Sarah felt the weight of that commitment. The Viridians hadn't just left humanity weapons. They'd left a teacher. Commander, the communications officer said, the Zinthara are requesting formal negotiations. They're proposing a diplomatic summit on neutral ground. Before Sarah could respond, the Sentinel spoke again. Alert! Detecting quantum signature anomaly. Unidentified vessel emerging from faster-than-light transit. On the tactical display, a new contact appeared. But this one was different. Its energy signature was strange, shifting, unlike anything in the database. Vessel identified, the Sentinel announced, and for the first time, Sarah detected what might have been surprise in that ancient voice. Design Viridian. Class Diplomatic Courier. Age approximately 10,000 years. Status active. The bridge erupted in shocked murmurs. Another Viridian ship. Still functioning after 10 millennia. The new vessel was small compared to the horizon's edge, perhaps 200 meters long, but its design was elegant beyond anything human or Zinthara engineers had achieved. It seemed to exist slightly out of phase with normal reality, its edges blurred and indistinct. Receiving transmission, the communications officer said, voice shaking. It's broadcasting in multiple languages simultaneously, including Viridian and... She paused, eyes widening. And English. Play it, Sarah ordered. A new voice filled the bridge. This one was different from the Sentinel. It was warm, almost musical, carrying notes of genuine emotion. Greetings, Inheritors. I am Keeper 227, Viridian Diplomatic Corps. My function is to awaken when Inheritor species activate military protocols. Sentinel 9742 status report. Status nominal, the Sentinel responded. Inheritor species humanity. Authorization confirmed. Military protocols activated in response to external threat. No unauthorized usage detected. Excellent, Keeper 227 replied. Commander Mitchell, I apologize for the dramatic timing, but my awakening is triggered specifically by Viridian weapons activation. This ensures that Inheritor species receive proper guidance regarding the responsibilities they now carry. Sarah stepped forward. Keeper 227, we're honored to meet you. But I have to ask, why leave such powerful weapons for a species you've never met? A fair question deserving a complete answer. The view screen changed, showing images of Viridian civilization at its height. Massive cities that seemed to grow organically from planets. Ships that moved through space like living things. Beings of pure energy dancing among the stars. The Viridians achieved transcendence, but we understood something crucial. Evolution never ends. The universe requires guardians, and those guardians must come from physical reality, not higher dimensions. The images shifted, showing countless species across the galaxy. We studied thousands of developing civilizations. Most showed potential but lacked certain qualities. Then we found humanity, Still primitive by galactic standards, but you possessed something rare. You could cooperate despite differences. You could show mercy to enemies. You could dream of peace while preparing for war. These qualities made you ideal candidates. But we're not ready, Sarah protested. We barely understand your technology. Correct. That is why we established the 1,000-year transition. The Sentinel will teach you the Viridian language. Not just the words, but the philosophy behind them. Each symbol represents not just a command, but an ethical principle. As you learn our language, you learn our wisdom. Victor leaned forward, fascinated. The language itself is a teaching tool? Indeed, Dr. Reeves. The Viridian language cannot be used for purely destructive purposes. The grammar itself contains ethical constraints. To speak a weapon command, one must also acknowledge the responsibility that comes with it. To command destruction, one must first articulate why peace failed. The language forces mindfulness, Sarah began to understand. The Viridians hadn't just left weapons. They'd left a system that would transform humanity into something better. What happens now? She asked. Now you learn, Keeper 227 said. The Sentinel will remain with you, interfacing with your vessel and teaching your people. I will establish diplomatic protocols with the Zinthra and other species. The galaxy must understand that Earth is under Viridian protection during its transition period. Any species that attacks you will face Viridian response protocols. The War Master's voice broke through. The Dominion acknowledges this arrangement. We withdraw our fleet and request formal alliance with Earth. If humanity truly carries Viridian authorization, the Dominion wishes to be counted as friends, not enemies. Sarah smiled slightly. Fear made for quick diplomacy. We accept your request for alliance, War Master. Let this mark a new era of cooperation between our peoples. Over the next hours, Sarah watched as humanity's position in the galaxy transformed completely. The Keeper established communication channels with dozens of species, all shocked by the news of an active Viridian presence. Some expressed joy, others fear, but all acknowledged that Earth now stood under protection that no force in the known galaxy would challenge. In the captain's ready room, Sarah met privately with Victor and Marcus. This is overwhelming, Marcus admitted. A week ago, we were losing a war. Now we're learning a language that can reshape reality. The weight of responsibility, Victor said quietly. The Viridians chose well. They gave us power but made it impossible to abuse. Genius and terrifying in equal measure. Sarah looked out at Earth, visible as a blue marble in the distance. They gave us a chance, 1,000 years to grow up, to become worthy of what we've inherited. We can't waste this gift. The Sentinel wants to begin language training immediately, Victor said. It says the basic concepts can be grasped within months, but true fluency takes lifetimes. It wants to start with children, building a generation that grows up bilingual in English and Viridian. Do it, Sarah ordered. Establish an academy. The brightest minds from every nation. We'll teach them not just the language, but what it represents. Responsibility, wisdom, restraint. The communication panel chimed. The Sentinel's voice filled the room. Commander Mitchell, incoming transmission from Earth Command. They request full briefing on recent events. Additionally, 73 species have requested diplomatic contact. The Keeper suggests establishing formal protocols immediately. Sarah straightened her uniform. Tell Earth Command I'm on my way. And Sentinel, I have a question. Proceed. You've been dormant for 10,000 years. What does it feel like to be awake again? A pause. Then, this unit experiences something your language might call satisfaction. The Viridians planned for this moment. To see their hopes validated, to witness humanity taking its first steps toward greatness, this brings purpose. This unit is honored to serve as your guide, Commander Mitchell. Sarah felt unexpected emotion. This ancient intelligence wasn't just a weapon or a tool. It was a mentor, a guardian left by a civilization that cared about the future even after transcending physical existence. The honor is ours, Sentinel. Let's get to work. As the horizon's edge turned back toward Earth, Sarah reflected on the incredible fortune and responsibility now resting on humanity's shoulders. They had been given weapons that could glass planets, but those weapons came with a language that taught mercy. They had been given power beyond imagination, but that power came with guardians to guide them. The Viridians had looked across thousands of years and seen humanity's potential. Now it was up to Sarah's generation, and those that followed, to prove that faith wasn't misplaced. On the view screen, the stars shone with new promise. Somewhere out there, the Viridians watched from higher dimensions, waiting to see what their inheritors would become. And on Earth, in academies yet to be built, children would soon begin learning a language that would reshape not just technology, but the very soul of human civilization. They would learn that every word carried responsibility, that every command required wisdom, and that true power came not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to choose mercy. The age of humanity's childhood was ending. The age of responsibility had begun, and it all started with a desperate commander, an ancient language, and a ship that asked one simple question. Target? The answer humanity gave that day would echo through the centuries. Peace, always peace, unless all other options are exhausted. The Viridians would have been proud.